Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The High Court has ruled that the government acted unlawfully at the start of the pandemic last year when it awarded a market research contract to a firm run by former colleagues of Dominic Cummings, the Prime Minister's chief advisor at the time. The judge said that the government's failure to consider other companies would lead other observers to think that bias had played a part in the decision. Ministers deny any favouritism. Our special correspondent, Lucy Manning, is live outside the High Court for us now. Lucy.
Well, is this a case of contracts for mates, as Labour claims, or just as Cabinet sources suggest, paperwork not being done during a COVID crisis? What is clear is the High Court has decided the government acted unlawfully when it gave this £500,000 contract to Public First. It does marketing research. It was run by friends of Dominic Cummings, people who had also worked with Michael Gove. Cabinet Office says Michael Gove wasn't involved in the decision, but his name was on the legal papers. And the judge deciding there was apparent bias because they didn't consider other firms. And that is embarrassing for the government. The case brought by the campaign group, the Good Law Project. But Dominic Cummings has been tweeting about this today, and he seems to suggest that this judgment means that he should have been concentrating on paperwork rather than the COVID crisis. Public First says it's proud of its work that it did, and the Cabinet Office says there was no actual bias and procedures have been tightened up, but a loss in court for the government today.
Lucy, thank you very much.
Well, the government's been told it behaved unlawfully in giving a contract to a firm run by friends of Boris Johnson's then chief advisor. More than £500,000 of taxpayers' money went to the market research firm Public First, whose bosses knew Dominic Cummings. The judge criticised what she called the failure to consider any other research agency. The Cabinet Office says the judgment made clear there was no suggestion of actual bias.
Now, the High Court has ruled that a government decision to award a contract to a company run by former colleagues of the Cabinet Secretary Michael Gove and the former number 10 advisor Dominic Cummings was unlawful. In a case brought by the campaign group, the Good Law Project, a court found the decision to pay Public First over £500,000 for market research could be seen as favouritism. Dominic Cummings says the deal was rushed through to save lives at the height of the pandemic.
He broke the law, and today the Good Law Project won, in a case that involves the Cabinet Office, cronyism and a government contract worth over £500,000.
Today, the High Court ruled that the Cabinet Secretary Michael Gove acted unlawfully when he awarded a lucrative government contract to communications firm Public First, which had close personal and professional links not only to him but also to former number 10 aide Dominic Cummings. The court ruled today that Mr Gove's failure to consider other research agencies during the process would lead any fair-minded observer to conclude that his decision had been biased.
Public First boasts on its website that its staff have been recruited from the highest levels of government. 3 of its senior partners, Rachel Wolfe, James Frayne and Gabrielle Milland, have all worked at the Department of Education alongside Mr Gove and Mr Cummings. He has since described them as friends. In an email last year, one senior civil servant wrote of her concerns that the firm was way too close to number 10 to be objective.
This is a message from the government.
It goes back to the beginning of lockdown and the government's COVID message. They paid Public First £560,000 for polling to find out if it was getting through. Insiders say they had no choice but to act quickly. But the barrister who brought the case disagrees.
The reality is that, in fact, government favouritism, institutionalised cronyism, was getting in the way, not helping.
What would you like to see from the government and from Michael Gove?
A cabinet minister who oversaw the award of a contract to associates of his, and that award is unlawful because no one else was considered. I think that's a resigning matter.
The Cabinet Office said in a statement that it had acted with urgency to ensure it was communicating effectively with the public during COVID, and that Mr Gove had no involvement in the award of the contract. Mr Cummings set out his position 2 weeks ago when he appeared in front of MPs.
January, February, March, My concerns, and most of the concerns in number 10, were really about capability and speed and buying what we needed and getting PPE to the front line and things like that.
And again today on Twitter, he criticised the court ruling, saying that if COVID doesn't justify focusing on outcome over process, nothing will.
This is taxpayers' money that's being wasted, and it's completely unacceptable, and that's why I think that that money should be recouped. But equally, we need an investigation to stop this, this cronyism and this, total breach of power.
This isn't the first case the Good Law Project has won. In February, Matt Hancock was found to have acted unlawfully for failing to publish details of COVID-related contracts. And the campaign group says it will carry on, with the next case due to be heard at the High Court on the 26th of July.